This week on a short news cycle, we discuss the never-ending delays on all the films, especially our favorite Tenet, the studio strategies that they are employing to start back production, and me and Tom, we're going to bust out some rants we've been storing deep inside of our souls. All that and more, starting now.
Okay.
All right, welcome everyone back to the Commander Ship Show. I am Kenneth Commander Ship. We've had a little bit of breaks back and forth between episodes. So me and Tom are probably going to just keep trying to focus a little more on topic episodes just because we're going to give you some news here, but honestly the news is we don't want to just we said this probably once a month during the news topic episodes is that we don't want to just keep saying this kept getting pushed back and so because that's not fun for anybody. So just kind of give you like a production note there before we get started. And then Tom, how are you doing?
Just fantastic. I'm wearing my improv uniform today, which is a beard and a flannel shirt. So if you could give me a location, like Starbucks.
I was gonna say, crap. I had the name of that studio lot in London for Warner Brothers. Dang it! It's the classic. Yeah, I was gonna go really obscure, but I forgot the name of the studio.
The offices of Charlie Hebdo.
Wait, what is that? Wait, what is that from? Is that Family Guy?
That's from Ted.
Oh, Ted. Yeah.
Yes.
I keep throwing.
You guys are monsters.
Gosh, it's fucking rough.
Oh man, I hate the fact that I love that show or that movie.
I mean, it is funny, but it's also wow,
stupid, just
really stupid,
painfully stupid.
Yeah. I hate Mark Wahlberg, so that's just not.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I watched The Corruptor, and I also watched, I think I told you this, I was watching Gone in 60 Seconds, and I was just like, man, there was a time when I was really excited about a Nicolas Cage movie or a Mark Wahlberg movie.
Yeah, there is.
Like, Mark Wahlberg, go back and watch The Big Hit. I may have talked about this before. That movie it knows it's stupid, and it's absolutely hilarious. The best part about that movie is not Mark Wahlberg, though. It's Elliot Gould, Christina Applegate, and Lou Diamond Phillips. Lou Diamond Phillips steals that show with his overacting, and also the wonderful cameo from Captain Sisko himself. What would you do if somebody fucked with you in your own house? Well, I bust some caps. Bust some caps! Give this man a gold star. Oh, man. And he's doing this whole scene in like a caftan or something like that.
God. Oh, I love you, Avery. So... It's very... not trying to call him Kramer, because that's a whole... But his energy is so weird when you see him outside of his productions.
Yes. Oh, man. If you ever watched The Captains.
Oh.
That interview with Shatner and Avery.
It's uncomfortable.
It is. But it's also hilarious. And both of them come off like crazed in some ways. Like weird, different energies. Like Shatner still is like super narcissistic, but exploded bigger, and I think Avery kind of fed off of that and just got like more. I don't know, but like
shit got weird.
It
got really weird.
Oh man.
So yeah.
So yeah, we. So you mentioned before we were talking about how most of our news is more delays.
Yeah, just more delays, but we're gonna actually hold off on that for just a moment. It's gonna come. It's gonna come.
Okay.
We're gonna get into some rants to kind of kick off the show. These are some that we've had kind of stored inside of us. That's the deep inside of our souls, and that's what half the DC when we were doing a DC extended universe recaps. Yes. That's what some of that was coming from, because we were just like. We were in anticipation for Wonder Woman that didn't end up happening, but also it's just things we hadn't got to get out of our system. So as you go back through those, that's what that is, and the ones that we still need to release, like that's what that is. This is kind of in the same vein, but they're not about it's a little bit about DC, but they're kind of all over the place. So me and Tom had a good chat on our Facebook, there's a prompt that Tom started that. He's going to give us a little more info on, and we'll jump into it.
So I actually started with I started rewatching Netflix Marvel, specifically Luke Cage, and really it started with I just wanted to watch Raphael Sadiq, and then I decided to watch the entire series, and then when I got to season 2 of Luke Cage, and Danny Rand makes his cameo, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to rewatch that. And so I've now finished off Luke Cage, Defenders, and now diving into season 2, or almost finished up with season 2 of Iron Fist. And I kind of want to give Danny Rand a bit of a reprieve from all the dragging his character got. Is like, it really isn't that bad. I mean, yes, season 1 is rough, but he's a hard character to flesh out. And by the time season 2 is wrapping up, I want more. Like, and it's not just like Danny's fine. The guy, Finn Jones, who plays him, actually, I think is more nuanced than I remember, because he kind of plays this. I was once a rich little kid who climbed his way through a Shaolin monastery to earn a certain title, and now people aren't taking me seriously because I'm some rich white kid who shows up and says, "No, I'm the immortal Iron Fist who fought a dragon." And yeah, I thought that was just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But we started then talking about like Marvel TV versus DC TV, and I still think that Marvel is the gold standard for comic book TV, Netflix Marvel. I'm not too thrilled with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know a lot of people love it, but I lost interest about season 4. I think DC, the CW DC TV is, but I think the new stuff like Doom Patrol is great. And yeah,
so I want to jump into the Danny Rand thing real quick. So, so let me like just like this external criticisms of the show. They're definitely that. Why are we doing this kind of story again? So I think those still hold true of like and kind of the same way about Doctor Strange. It's like we could have given that role to an Asian American actor to take and inhabit it, and kind of the same way for Iron Fist. But there's have to be some things that have to change, right? But I do think like the things that are smart in Iron Fist, when they let him go spout off like that, and people look at him like who the fuck do you think you are? Like the interaction between Luke Cage and Danny in the Defenders before Luke Cage season 2 came out, and before the next season of Iron Fist came out, where they're having that argument in the restaurant. I'm like, no, that's perfect. That needs to happen. If you are going to have a white character do this, take this role again, then they also need to like their privileged parts need to be taken to task and like laid out to be able to bear for the show. So I do think those are things that, because people were upset at the casting, they didn't get to see. They probably didn't watch Defenders, and they probably didn't get that far, directly to your point, to see that those things happened. And then with Colleen, there are other things like, damn, she's great. Damn, Colleen is great. So watching her
choreography is on point.
Yeah.
Her as a character is great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like Mara and Aquaman, where I'm like,
Yes.
why you can't make the sidekicks so good that I'd rather watch them in this movie than Aquaman. It's kind of the same thing for Iron Fist. It's like eventually Danny gets better, but at least season 1 Danny, I'd rather just be this season have been about Colleen than him. So to be fair, I do want to go back and rewatch because I didn't get to watch that with you. So I'm kind of curious what I would think of it now.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I do agree with the concept of this is not a story that needed to be told in the way that it was told. I'm in agreement with that, but with the story that we got, I think the performances are okay, and also the unsung hero of that show is Ward and the actor that plays him, because like that guy ends up as much of a douchebag as he is. He actually ends up doing a lot of the right things for the right reasons, and and especially in season 2, man, he really comes into his own as a fully fleshed out character that you have empathy for.
What?
Yeah.
What?
But but like that whole Netflix Marvel universe, it was a real loss, and I think it was a poor decision by Disney to pull all of that and to end all of that, because they had gold.
Like, for all the things I shit on Marvel and the Disney partnership for, I loved those because it gave me a taste of the Marvel universe that I wanted. I hate that it's just relegated to these shows, but at least I could, if I needed a break from the happiness of the MCU, I could jump back into the Marvel stuff on Netflix and be like, okay, I want to get back to something that's more grounded and I feel like feels closer to reality. Because I know if these shows get picked back up in some version on Disney, that you're not getting that. You're not getting the Punisher on Disney Plus. That is just
no,
not
you're
happening.
not. You're getting the Punisher. He's just he only uses less lethal weaponry, and he he's.
Oh man.
I support the blue.
I am so proud for some of the writers and creators of that coming out and being like, yeah, we've had a problem with y'all co-opting that for a long time, but now we're really gonna, like, in case you need it spelled out again, it's like Frank would not be with you. He'd probably be shooting you down. It's like he wouldn't have a blue badge. He wouldn't have a blue fin line on his. No. So gosh, they don't get it.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So so one of our friends. Well, actually, hold on. Before we even get to that, let me back up. So we were talking offline about the Arrowverse, and
yes.
So we talked about Marvel, and we're not getting into animated yet. We'll get into that in just a second, and we'll probably try to stick with modern animated.
Honestly,
because we don't want to go back too far.
Animated, we could spend 2 hours on animated. Honestly, I would rather us put a pin on it.
All right.
But I will say, here's the short answer: DC wins.
Oh yes.
Done.
Yeah, we're on the same page for that. Marvel's not even. They're not even sniffing. Like, maybe they've got more kid shows, like quote unquote kid shows that are available on like before Disney Plus even happened. It was like on the Fox cartoon channels and stuff like that. But oh yes, yeah, the DC animated movies, the Young Justice. You just got like the new Harley Quinn. You just kind of go down the list, and it's
Oh yeah, it starts all the way back to Adventures of Superman and Batman.
Yeah, just super strong lineage, and it just hasn't really taken a break. It just really yeah. So yes, DC animation. Yeah.
Yes, long live Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill.
Yes. Oh, so
what?
Arrowverse. We talked about
Arrowverse. Yes.
Can't stand it. Just can't stand it, especially in comparison to the Marvel shows. And you were talking, you got to season 2 on a bunch of them. I So I got to season 2 of Arrow when season 3 started, and I saw the same beats getting ready to happen again. I said, I'm out. And I started part of Flash season 1, and I was like, nope. I have a feeling you're going to do the same, and I'm out.
Yep.
I did watch Black Lightning season 1.
I changed the history again. Yeah, I didn't finish. I think I finished season 1 of Black Lightning.
And I liked it a little bit more. I think some of the material was closer to me than some of the other shows, but still, it had that feeling. And I'm like, oh, I feel like you're just gonna drag this out.
Yeah, I think it felt like they were gonna hit the reset button on that. And at the end of season 1, I liked their story, and it was much more interesting. Especially, sorry for the yawn, of taking it to, taking Black Lightning as from the beat of a dad trying to take care of his family, be a principal, and then gets dragged back in. Yeah,
because it's different stakes than being like a younger superhero that's not established in their life yet, and it's not that they don't have less to. Well, I don't want to say less per se, but the stakes are different. They can still be high stakes for like family members or loved ones and stuff, but they're just different. Whereas Jefferson's got like, you're talking about family, was vice principal or principal of the school. So just where he's at in his community, the things he stands to lose by putting his mantle back on is like, that lens was just very, very interesting to me compared to the other heroes. But still.
And now that we're talking about it, man, I just realized the parallels between Arrow and Iron Fist.
Oh, they're totally there.
Young kid lost in some secret place and then gains these amazing abilities and appropriates a couple different cultures along the way, while being, on a deserted island or in a Tibetan monastery, or a secret celestial city. I had, when I first heard about it, like, I thought, oh man, that's kind of cool. But as I aged, as I grew, I'm like, what the hell is Ollie doing with a Russian mafia tattoo? And also knows all about like generic Asian remedies and rituals and
the shit's weird, man. The shit's weird.
Yeah, I do appreciate, like, and I wish they did more of. I think where they fell short, and granted, full disclosure, I only watched season 4 because I think Felicity Smoke was one of the most gorgeous things to look at on TV at the time.
Doesn't do anything for me. Doesn't do anything.
Yes. I mean,
that's not
sure.
aimed at her. That's just aimed at people that are eye candy in shows in general. I don't care. It doesn't do anything for me.
Sure, it was painful for me to listen to her talking about a spectral analyzer when she works in the IT department of a corporation. I don't know why that exists, but anyway, I really liked
techno mumbo jumbo. How we advance the plot.
Yeah, but I do like
TNG.
I wish they had more of the League of Shadows.
Yes.
Like if they stopped with the island stuff, if they stopped repeating stuff, if they stopped, Ollie and Felicity almost got married, or Ollie and this person almost got married, and then instead just said, the League of Shadows is real, and like I know it's hard and I know it was scary, but a Batman or a young Bruce Wayne cameo would have been pretty awesome with the League of Shadows.
Because they keep alluding to some Batman comments or some things happening in Gotham, but they never really...
Yeah.
Actually, I will take a moment to say, and maybe if someone has watched all of Arrow can let me know, just because my memory of it, when I started feeling it go that way about Ollie and Felicity, I got to really... because I loved her character. I will say she was one of my favorites in the show. But then turning into a love interest, like, why? Why did we need to do that?
I agree with you, but at the same time, she's gorgeous and entertaining and smart.
And but she can be that and not have to be the love, like this.
Yeah,
there's another rant that I'm going to save for another time. But this whole idea that every movie needs to have some kind of romantic subplot, like it can be such a shoehorn in some of these shows and movies that it's, write another character, so that you can still have Felicity and in a vital role. That doesn't mean that it's not that we have to go throw Bechdel test in this, but now you've changed the nature of a lot of her conversations when you make it relationship based.
Yeah, agreed.
Because the fact that she's still in the role of like being like Oracle in this show, and I
the guy in the chair.
The guy in the chair. Sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna come back to that later. It's not gonna happen this episode, but I want to get romantic subplots. Like either make it a main plot or get it out of there, or hint at it. You can hint, Actually, I know I can't segue yet because we got to talk about Mando. Dang it! That would have been I will bring it up in Spider-Verse chat though. So we had a mutual friend on the interwebs and in real life.
A series of tubes.
They wanted to talk about. They thought The Mandalorian was better than anything that had come out on the Marvel Netflix or DC live action. And
can I lead it off?
Go ahead. I'm going to rip into it too, but go ahead.
I think I not to claim, but I think I was the one that first dropped that hammer on him. Is that the only reason? And I really do like The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
but the only reason
it's a super fun show.
The only reason it seems so good is because it is the first live action Star Wars thing put to screen that is, I won't say flawless, but almost. It, like, other than Empire, nothing else live action that has been produced by Star Wars is as good as The Mandalorian, except for Empire.
I'd have to show a little love to Rogue One. Even though I know there's some character arcs issues of that, as far as because everyone's just it's an ensemble, it's a disposable ensemble cast, so it's not built to put them in anywhere else, but it's just telling like a slice of life or a moment in history. Very Saving Private Ryan.
Everybody dies. Yes.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with that, and like I agree. Mandalorian is a fantastic show. I look forward to season 2. We've talked about season 2 stuff, on this show, so we clearly love it, and I do enjoy it. But gosh, people, I'm just incredulous right now because when people talk about the originality of the show, I never wanted to put hands on people so much. And I've gone through so many internet backlashes since I've started as a critic. Like I've gone through, but there's nothing that has made me want to do that more than this TV show. And it's not the show's fault. They're doing these great homages to Akira Kurosawa and different westerns, and I love that.
And they also are open about it.
Yes, like you hear the behind the scenes.
Producers are like, we totally ripped off of Akira. We totally ripped off of this Western film.
And I love all that. But folks, that is not original.
Nope.
That is not original. Sorry, there were some of these plots that were in the movie, in the show, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that person could betray them, and then they're gonna double cross it. Okay, got it. Right. So just. And I'm not trying to bemoan you for enjoying it. And I also realize sometimes in my perspective, it can make it hard because you've seen the same thing so many times that it's harder to impress you when someone uses a similar plot. So that is a legit thing that I'm always dealing with. But come on, don't say it's original. It's a new coat of paint. I like the coat of paint.
Yeah.
I like the new universe that we're in and playing in. And I think season 2 is probably going to do a better job getting into like cooler and getting into more Mandalore history and stuff like that.
Mandalore.
Get out. I know it was there, but I didn't want to do it.
That's why I'm here.
Is it, Tom? Is that the reason? Is that the soul? So, yes, I enjoy it a lot. I just couldn't put it as far as like what I enjoy and thought was more original at the time. I think like the whole of the DC TV shows on Netflix definitely like I was very impressed by where they went. Even Luke Cage, when I got upset at the villain swap, and if you haven't watched it, try not to spoil it for you because I think it is still impactful, even if it was not a decision I would have made. But I still did something that I was, crap, I didn't know we were going to go, oh, you're going to stick to that decision. Okay, great.
Which season?
Season 1.
What? Oh, okay. What, the reveal?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was I have to give them props for that. So, you made a creative, you made a plot decision, and you said this is the direction we're gonna go, and we're gonna stick with it. I'm like, okay, not what I would have done, but hey. So
yeah, I think like when I remember watching the Mandalorian and thinking, oh, this episode is part of the movie Shane. Oh, so is this episode. And this one's a fistful of dollars, and this one's Seven Samurai or the Magnificent Seven, and this one,
like, and I was joking with you offline about Yojimbo, and his like on his kimono he's got like the house he's still wearing the crest of the house that he used to belong to before he became a Ronin. And I've seen nods to that in the show, like that kind of tradition continued on in it. Like it's
the conversation with the signets and
So
I think and he's the outsider. But that said, it is still the most. I still think one of the most perfectly executed things, live action. We'll make that statement. Live action. That Star Wars is
everything. Then it's Clone Wars by like a country mile.
Yes. But going back to like, I think I do want to make a shout out to Doom Patrol. I mentioned it earlier. Doom Patrol and Titans is really turning out to be good. I know Titans was getting dragged early on because of how Korra was portrayed and a few of the other characters, but it seemed to work, and it kind of brought them into what I think they would look like in the really real world, as opposed to
Starfire got some crap at the beginning, right? And it's like yeah, you can make a legitimate criticism that maybe that costume could have been better. Like it almost looked like a cheap costume they put together for her. It's like, but if your complaint is that it's a black actress, like go on somewhere with that. And that's what it was, a mix of.
There is definitely that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know what? In the comics, she's freaking orange. Who cares who plays her, as long as it's good.
God.
I wonder how many people really bitched about Zoe Saldana playing all the alien characters that she's played.
Don't know. So we got 2 more rants. These will be short kind of previews to some articles I've got coming up on Nerd Union. So hint, plug, so that you can feel free to get the full scope on them. But I gotta give you the premise here. Me and Tom will talk about it super quick before we wrap up with our news portions for the week. So when Into the Spider-Verse came out 2 years ago, was it? Yeah, it's almost 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It came out 2018. If you don't know, like I spent a lot of time learning about Sony and the whole lead up to the fiasco of Ghostbusters and the email leak and the interview, James Franco and Seth Rogen and all that. So I know about all the internal hell there, so I just don't have a big trust of Sony to get things done well. So they talk about an animated Spider-Man movie that's going to be big budget, put on the big screen. I just don't care. I'm just like, I don't think you're going to do that well. Same thing with Venom. I don't care. I don't think you're going to handle these properties well. And then I go in and watch it and have to eat everything I said, at least for this movie, of like, oh, so y'all actually might be able to turn out some amazingness. But the nagging thought in my head, when I left the theater, was, man, this is really good. Like it might be that good. It might be like knock some things off of a pedestal good. And I didn't want to say it then because I was like, that, I want to give it some time. Want to like go back and rewatch some things. But the central premise of my article is, I think it is the best comic book movie that has been made. When I go back and think about what they did in less than 2 hours, it's almost close to 2 hours, but it's still less than 2 hours. You don't have the quote-unquote training montage, but they sneak it into the movie in very creative ways. So if you go back and rewatch it, you're like, it's like, so remember, there is no training montage, but he gets trained throughout the movie. Think about that and rewatch that movie and see if you catch on to all those beads, and then how they get reinforced in the end of the second act and into the final act. I thought was just flawless. Like, and when you set those things up in other movies, sometimes they kind of beat over your head of like, look at this thing. This thing is going to come back later. This movie doesn't really do that. Like it just proceeds. That's a joke that happened. That's a comment that was made. This is a conversation that happened between the two. This is an interaction they had. He did a specific move on this person. All of these things are going to come back later. Like there's nothing that's being set up in the beginning that's just going to get ignored in the last half. So that symmetry was fantastic. And things I'll get into more. It's also just like on paper, even if I take my thoughts of Sony out, when I think about everyone they used in this movie, I also thought this should blow up in their face. There's no way having this many characters in an origin story. Everyone, we need actually.
Yes,
we need to,
actually, the origin story is a great. that is a great callback every time. Every time they meet a new Spider-Verse.
So it's like, this was an origin story. That's the thing. Like, these movies, those origin stories are not supposed to be this good. That's not supposed to happen. Just sequels are supposed to be better because you finally got everything out of the way, and then you can actually get into some meat. This movie said, "Screw that. We're gonna throw a pretty challenging issue at you." But yeah, I was wrestling because I'm a big Dark Knight fan. Watched it so much in the theaters. Oh, probably too much, but whatever. For a long time, that has just been my gold standard because it did shock a lot of us. It's like, oh, you should take these movies seriously. We as a community, comic book community, nerd community, take these things seriously, and that did bring a lot of mainstream attention to it. But if I'm being honest, there's still some holes I can poke in Dark Knight. Like I can, it's not even nitpicking. It's like there's still some things I can pull into that, and I keep trying to do it with Into the Spider-Verse, and I'm just, I don't know if it's like there aren't any or I just give up, but I can't do it.
Yeah, it is one of the better written, if not best. I have to think hard about that one. Because I'll give you one flaw right off the bat, though.
Okay, go bring it.
Post Malone theme song.
Hey, it's 2018, man. I'm fine with that. That's what Miles likes. That speaks to Miles' character.
Yeah, it does.
Hey, it's a thing he's able to channel. Like there's actually like. It could have been another song, but it speaks to like this is something he likes, and it's what does it do for him? What does it do for him in the movie? He's like, what do you do to calm down? What do you do to relax?
I listen to Post Malone. I mean, I begrudgingly like Post Malone music as well. Every single time he comes out with something, I don't know it's necessarily him. I hear it on the radio. I'm like, God damn, this is good. And then I hear something like, oh, it's Posty. Damn it. But yeah, I think it is. I think one of the great things about that, and as we were talking about the introductions, it is a comic book movie can be serious, but also not take itself too seriously. They do that with Spider Noir, for example. It's and I do appreciate when comic book movies are just are a bit more serious or a bit more realistic, but at the same time, I do agree, I do like the fact that they took the piss out of it a little bit by, just having these moments of comedy or respite from things.
Gosh, I'm gonna keep myself from going all into it right now because I got a long. I guess not a defense, but almost like a legal brief of Your Honor, this is. So I have been.
Ladies and
go ahead.
People of the jury, I present to you these facts. That's Into the Spider-Verse is the greatest comic book film ever. In today's argument, I will be making this case.
Cool. And then my other rant, I'll spend a little more time on this one though. So if you haven't watched After Hours, it was a fantastic show on Cracked before they got dumb and got bought out by Scripps, and there's a whole story behind that, like with Michael Swaim and Jack O'Brien, all of them having to leave, and so great comedic writing team. But they had the show called After Hours on that. Did some topic stuff we do here, and they had one about these terrifying realities of Back to the Future. And one, they get to, not so much, they talk about how bad it is. And I talked about a John Mulaney sketch where he also brings up the fact of Back to the Future is fucking weird.
Yes.
And I'll save some of those weirdness for the article, but there's one in particular I'm going to point out. And then I want to talk about some brilliance that happens in the beginning of the movie. So the opening scene for Back to the Future is one of the best opening scenes without an action sequence that I've ever seen. Because is it an orgy of evidence for Doc and what he does as well or doesn't do well? Yes. But I still think it helps establish a lot about Doc before you ever see him on screen. Because you're not going to get to spend a lot of time with Doc actually in the movie. You think about the amount of time that Christopher Lloyd is on screen. It's not that much. Especially in the beginning. You see him more in the end, but in the beginning it's like he's doing things in the background. You don't know what's going on yet. And then you finally meet him in a DeLorean, and then he's off. So that version of Doc, you don't get to know a lot about him. But we see the crazy amount of clocks. We see different inventions and things going on in the background. Certain things in different disarray. We see the framed posters of things he has been successful in, or crazy scientist burns down his house. He kind of goes down the thing. And for a second, because you've seen the trailers, you might think this is Marty's house for a little bit until you start picking those details out. And then when Marty comes in and gets on the phone with Doc, it helps reestablish all those things that you've seen. Marty is actually one that helps you as the audience. If you didn't get it quite, it helps you put all those together. So you've got some mental image of Doc before you ever meet him. And then Christopher Lloyd helps fill that in once you see him, and he's erratic behavior, and he's clearly very smart, but he's like and that all happens in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That is fantastic. That is a great character introduction with someone not on screen in 5 minutes.
Yep.
All of that said, the narrative gets fucking weird. Once Marty goes back to 1955, it gets fucking weird. I mean, honestly, everything before before that point is super solid. It's amazing. As soon as he goes back, they start indulging in some weird fantasies. And the Cracked episode does, they kind of get into the mayor thing. I don't think that one's as bad when they talk about the black mayor getting the idea to run for mayor. Like, it's bad, but it's not, I think in the grand scope of things, the optics are bad. But and if you just take that one instance, it's like, oh, you accidentally said something that you shouldn't have because you were adjusting to this time period. You know, fine. but the Chuck Berry, I can't let that stand. And I'm gonna get into other things that bug me about the movie with him and his mom and stuff like that. But man, I can't let that stand. That and in my preview I did on Facebook, I talked about Robert Zemeckis grew up in Southside Chicago. Mm-hmm. Would have met plenty of black musicians, should have met plenty of black musicians. I'm not saying that he did, but you think that he would have interacted in Chicago, or at least know some of his Chicago history. But the real one person I want to take to task, now that I live in St. Louis, and this is, as I was looking at Robert Zemeckis, I was like, oh, he had a co-writer on these movies. Oh, who's Bob Gale? Wait, Bob Gale grew up in St. Louis? You mean the birthplace of Chuck Berry? And didn't think.
Well, that's probably why Chuck Berry's in the film.
And that's
actually the real effed up thing about it.
It's like, because he grew up here, you fought to put him in there, but then you slap him in the face by having. Gosh.
So I will say one thing about Robert Zemeckis living in the South Side of Chicago. As a Chicago native, and my family comes from the South Side, there's the South Side, and then there's the South Side, and then there's the South Side. So, like, if he grew up in Bridgeport, that has always been white, is all get out. Italian whites. Zemeckis, probably not, because they were racist against everybody. Even up to, like, 20 years ago. I had a friend who had a Polish last name who couldn't find an apartment until his friend, his roommates, who had an Italian last name, started making phone calls around Bridgeport. So my bet is that he lived in the South Side, like where my parents grew up, which was like 63rd and Stony, which was super white until 1965, and like that area was a big part of the white flight. And I'm guessing that dude left the South Side around that time as well to pursue his career or go to college. So,
well, no. So was Zemeckis? He was born in 1952.
Okay.
Because he didn't end up going to USC until 73, or in the 70s. So it's possible they still left. Yeah, I think you're completely right. It's definitely possible they still left. So, yeah, maybe I'll give. I'm not giving him a pass. But
listen. I'm not giving him a pass either. He should have known better anyway. But regardless of where he could have lived in like Evanston and still should have known better. But yeah, I don't think that. I don't know if that would be a good qualifier for him or a good reason why he would know. It's either way, there's no excuse. But growing up on the South Side could still insulate you around that time.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
I'm sorry to white-splain that to you.
Tom, how dare you?
I white-splained about white neighborhoods.
Well, no, but that's fair. Like, I don't know how the breakdown. You know, I know South Side Chicago still has a fuck ton of black people living in South Side Chicago, but I don't know how the neighborhood breakdown works. You know, so that's good. That helps me out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's and like the South Side still has like these pockets of whiteness in it. You know, like Bridgeport being one of them, and Hyde Park still being one of them. And I don't know if that's as much of a pocket of whiteness as it is a pocket of like educated money, because that's like Hyde Park is where University of Chicago is, so, and where the Obamas hung out.
What?
Yeah, there is a Baskin Robbins right near University of Chicago that has a little plaque that says this is where Michelle and Barack had their first date. It's adorable.
Get out of here. All right. Well, we've ranted enough. Ready for the news?
Yes.
All right. Rapid fire. Crossfire.
Oh gosh, let me get my bow tie. Oh wait, that crossfire.
No, I was gonna get to that too, but yeah, I was thinking about both of them. Gosh.
You're more of a dick in person than I thought.
I love you, Jon Stewart.
Yes. You are our only hope. Help us, Jon Stewart.
Help us. Well, let's get to the things we were holding off because we didn't really want to have to dive into them. So, but here we are.
David Tennant.
Tenet is delayed again. It's not a surprise. Because Regal's supposed to open this month. They've delayed off until August, so it's not a surprise that as each movie chain, like Regal, Cinemark, AMC, pushes back to August, it's not a surprise that each movie that was in July is also going to push back to August and or start going back to September and so on and so forth. So, folks, we just got to be ready for this ripple effect to continue to happen. And particularly in Tenet's case, I will bet paychecks that Nolan will never let that get streaming first. I think he'll fight tooth and nail to not let that happen. So it would not shock me. It would really not shock me if we don't see this year. Because right now it's indefinite.
Oh, yeah.
It's been delayed indefinitely. They haven't put a new date on. So right now, just really wouldn't be surprised if Nolan holds close to the fire and says, "I need this to happen in theaters." And again, Warner Brothers got to be thinking this is a Nolan movie, so it's at least $500 million that we're missing out on if we don't put this out in theaters, because his movies just had that kind of track record.
Yeah. There's a part of me that hopes that by the end of the year, the studios will think, well, you know what? We could claim that loss and just release it on Netflix or something like that. Because I get studios want to recoup their money, they don't even care about recouping the money. They want to make 4 times what they invested in. But cripes, we need some new stuff, and people aren't going to care.
Yeah.
I think that part of the thing that keeps the movie industry going is the excitement of the continuation of new stories, what's coming out next. But if it's just like, oh, yeah, and we're now we're about 4 months into nothing, right? And
yeah,
I think that
in the movie front particularly.
And if we have another 4 months, to the end of the year, or another 5 months, they're going to face another problem, which is every film that has been held off is going to get. We talked about this. Is going to get released in this short window of time, and they're just going to be competing over the same amount of dollars. And so, with that mentality, we may not see Wonder Woman until next summer, and then who knows what else is going to get delayed because they're just going to push everything out month by month to give people that room to spend their money. Mm-hmm. Sell it to HBO.
Sell it to HBO. I mean, yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, streaming's not even... We're getting to the point where even the fears we had about streaming may not become realized because it's just not a great idea right now. And the reason I would say that is you're assuming you'll get new subscribers, but people's disposable income is also shrinking. So when you have two things fighting like that, spending one time to go see a movie, even if it's expensive, may be an easier calculus in someone's mind than paying a certain amount each month for a new service, especially when you already have like a Netflix or a Hulu. Kind of goes back to that oversaturation idea we were talking about before. So I don't know. It's rough, man.
Yeah, it is. And I feel for all the people that are involved in movie making right now.
Yeah. Actually, let's talk. Let's talk how people are. I want to jump down to how people are, because we talked about the Regal opening a bit, and that's basically all it really was that pushed in August. But I wanted to your point, what you were starting there, how filming's working in the COVID space, what different people are doing, because I don't know if you noticed, folks, but U.S. is not doing so well in light of other countries, and people that
we're the best.
We're the best around.
Nothing's ever going to keep us down. Yeah. Sorry. Our COVID numbers will never keep us down.
What are those numbers? Anyone that had international film schedules has been screwed. And there's this Tom Cruise article about his negotiation with the UK government. And normally he would have no business or no reason to even talk with them, but he's basically had to negotiate to try to get some special permissions from them to even be able to finish some of the Mission Impossible 7 shots so they could then get back to the U.S. to do other things that wouldn't require those. And it's not just Mission Impossible. That was one conversation that happened for him in the UK, but other folks have been trying to get shots in Italy, which Italy at a point when it was at its worst was just a no-go. They're like, even when things got better, they're like, you are not coming in here to shoot anything. And it may still be the case where they're not going to. We don't as of this recording, it still didn't look like that was approved yet for some of the shots. And some of them were Mission Impossible, some of them were other films that were trying to get in there and finish some shots.
So, in case people watching don't realize this, I'm gonna give you some bad news. Your passport, if you have one, is useless right now. Americans can't leave the country. There's 35 out of the 180-something countries that we have in the world that we can go to, and none of them are really that great. It's certainly not the Bahamas. But no country right now is letting Americans in. So just keep that in mind when you're making your vacation plans.
Yeah.
The best you got is Florida right now.
I'm not going to Florida. Gosh.
If you want tropical-ish beaches, Florida is all you got.
I'll get a bag of sand from Lowe's and lay it on my son. That's what I'll do. Golly. Oh. We saved this for last. That was yeah. All right, moving on. Mm-hmm. If I told you there was going to be a movie about Tetris, but not about Tetris, would you understand what I mean?
I'm guessing it's a movie about the programmer of Tetris.
You're close. It is, yes, definitely in regards to how Tetris was developed and then given to the country of Russia as an export, a game to be exported. And then the tricky legal issues that created with Tetris to be put on different consoles and things like that. And particularly like the Game Boy version of Tetris, there's a very interesting history behind that. So Taron Egerton, like from The Kingsman, Eddie the Eagle, and then Rocket Man's going to be taking one of the roles in the film. So it's not quote-unquote a video game movie, but it'd definitely be more about video game history, which I thought, as terrible as most video game movies have been, this would be one way to kind of skirt that issue and have a really interesting story.
Yep. My only hope is that it's directed by Matthew Vaughn. Again.
No. I don't forgive him after the Golden Circle.
Oh gosh.
That was still mad at that.
Specifically the finger scene, or
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to be mad at that, but that scene in particular was egregious. I'm like, this isn't funny.
I mean,
I don't find this funny. This is dumb.
They killed off Merlin.
Yeah, he's probably the best part of that movie.
Yep.
No, he is. Not maybe. He is. Yeah. Cool. Do you like computer building with your shirt off? Okay, well, technically, he didn't have
No, he had a wife beater on.
But Henry Cavill showing off his nerddom and his PC gaming prowess. Nerddom. Just the internet went a little crazy for his tank top computer build. And all right, Henry, I see you. I see what you're trying to do.
No one's excited about me doing that shirtless. And in fact, a couple of times someone has said to put my shirt on.
Tom, you could just show off your forearms, though. You can just be like...
they are just...
Just zoom, like, just that big half... You could do a Babish. You can do a Benjamin Babish where you don't see the head. You say just like, it's all forearm. You just be like... And they're like, oh my gosh, look at those forearms. Oh... You're like intentionally squeezing the entire time, so it's always like...
Is that Henry Cavill? No, those arms are too big to be Henry Cavill.
But yeah, I like little things like this. I think most people have said they'd grade his build as decent. Good cable management as always. Mm-hmm. I'm currently fighting that fight in the house as a whole with things I've been installing, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Let's see. Now, next up, Idris Elba gave very similar thoughts to, if you remember our conversation about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, talking about giving some like preempts or some kind of like a disclaimer or warning before some of the shows that people have been trying to take down. Like, if you still want to watch it, let's give you a little bit of context with this. And Idris Elba is effectively just echoing the same things. And that, yes, there's been work that's been put into that product or into that production. And yes, they could have made an honest mistake. Like, everything else could be fine about that thing, but they've made one mistake here. It's like, so why not, again, give that context? Particularly if it's something that does need to be seen, not something that's like Birth of a Nation, the original Birth of a Nation, where it's like, I don't know if anyone really needs to see that. Now, as a film nerd, I still think it could be beneficial to see, like, here's what happens when someone brings an agenda into a movie and fully flush that, and they fully, like, I'm not talking about like a slight agenda and it filters how they filmmaking. I'm talking about
from soup to nuts. This was built from the ground up honestly, I've brought this up before. Birth of a Nation is a Battlefield Earth of its time.
Yeah. Still a solid statement. I still agree with it because I think hits it exactly on the nose. Cool. Yeah. So we will give links to that in the show notes so you can read it at. But definitely just I'm glad seeing other folks that are on that train of thought. To like, there are some that just still have a great achievement to them that we should. Put some context with them instead of just like casting them out. And I think there's some that if we just put our heads together, I think we can definitely do that. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in another episode because me and Tom are going to get into some. What was it? We're going to get into some Mel Brooks, some Dave Chappelle. What else did we?
Yeah.
Key and Peele, and I think there were some blackface examples like Tropic Thunder, Be Kind, Rewind, and that episode of Community. That got pulled, where I just kind of want to talk about like where I think some of these movies and shows have done that really well, having conversations like that, and others that didn't do quite a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Lastly, I guess there is a secret rant in here. I almost forgot. So first, I was just excited because Legend of Korra is going to get released on Netflix. And I don't know what happened there. Nickelodeon, I don't know if there's like a contract issue or like some kind of licensing issue, but it's been really hard just to get Korra somewhere to watch it on streaming consistently. like because it'll be on one place for a little bit and then get dropped off, or maybe some of the episodes were on Hulu when it was coming out, but then it gets dropped. So getting on Netflix is really great because Airbenders definitely had some good times on Netflix, and now it's back on there, and it had good homes before, and Korra just hasn't had that. But as I was searching for that tidbit of news, I came across this Cinema Blend article. I was willing to give it a read, and I did, because it was just trying to defend The Last Airbender, M. Night Shyamalan's movie, which most of us have just disowned and act like it doesn't exist.
Full disclosure, I didn't even bother.
You saved yourself a lot of time. And so we'll give you the link to it. Feel free to read it. I'll give my quick thoughts on it. Like, if your argument is, let's take something that's not doesn't have a heavy fan base, right? Let's take like a Scott Pilgrim. It might have a lot of people that are fans of it, for example. And yes, there was the comics that happened before the movie came out, but there's not going to be a ton of issues or changes between what happens in the movie versus what happens in the comic book. You have a little more free reign there. And I didn't, as an example, I'd still say that I did a pretty good job pulling a lot of things from the comic into that movie. So there you go. Last Airbender, though, it's clear they didn't read, and it's clear they didn't watch the show. It's like someone told it to him for a glass darkly, And you know how I feel about like book adaptations. I usually try to give like movie directors a lot of leeway, just because you can't get all of that into a movie. And for a show, particularly, trying to get all of that into a movie can be difficult as well. But people aren't upset really of the story beats, because the story beats are the same those are still pulled straight into the movie. So that's really not what the argument is. It's mispronouncing the names when you have a source material. This isn't like a Star Wars thing where people keep saying Han, Leia.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. If they were making it up on the go, like that's not you didn't really have a thing to refer back to, especially in that first movie. Like, who cares? You have a TV show to refer back to, 3 seasons of which. It's not an excuse for that.
Yeah.
We can get into like the whitewashing, but like Shyamalan and Nickelodeon have to take equal blame for that, because they were pushing certain young actors to take these roles, and they have not turned out to be like some major superstars. So I don't know why you made these demands for them to play these parts. The article even tries to like downplay the CGI, and I'm like, no. If you're a director, even if you're not I know you're not the one creating CGI, but you still get some sign off on that. You still get to see some of it, how it's going as they're building it, to say that's not going to work or that's unacceptable, right? So sorry, this I thought it was going to be a fun kind of like, maybe it would open my eyes to something I didn't appreciate about it, and it just didn't do a great job even doing. They even gave up some of their counterpoints as they were writing it. I'm like, it doesn't sound like you really believe what you're writing here. So.
It is fun when you watch people talk themselves out of their argument.
So yeah, we'll include the link. You go give it a look, see what you think. Because that's definitely what I pulled from it. Maybe there was sarcasm there that I didn't pick up, and if there is, definitely be like, hey, he was being sarcastic. Like, cool. Maybe my brain just didn't click, but I didn't get that from this article. So no, Last Airbender is that terrible. I question your sanity if you're trying to defend it, almost like our Man of Steel argument we were having earlier, but I'm not gonna get into all that. What? Did all that come out super quick? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Folks, that has been our show. We're gonna be back pretty soon with a review on Red Tails. So again, we're kind of continuing to try to show. We talked about some race tropes, black race tropes that are bad, like with Green Mile, Green Book, Remember Titans. So now we're going to get to things that are better representations, but then we have some thoughts on the overall quality of Red Tail. So be on the lookout for that. Also be on the lookout for the Into the Spider-Verse re-review and Back to the Future retrospective, where we just kind of talk about what did really well or really wrong in those. And Tom, what's the one you and me have been working on building our lists for?
Yes, the movies that need to be remade.
Yeah. So folks, this is not taking good movies and remaking them. Although sometimes there could be like maybe one that just needs to be updated, but that's not really where the focus of this is at. It's more things that were bad but had a good concept, and we want to bring that concept to 2021, 2022, and shine it up. Great
ideas, great stories, poorly executed.
Yeah. So we're going to have one of our podcast episodes. We're definitely just going to dive into all that. We'll kind of go through our lists, give reasons why it was a good idea.
Hint, one of them is not The Day the Earth Stood Still.
What? That was going to be on my list.
Again? Did you want Keanu to reprise the role for a second time?
For a second. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah, we'll get into it. We're gonna save it for that show. We've went a little long, but again, we were just wanting to get some of our rants and stuff out, and didn't want to spend too much on the news, just because there ain't so much, and we're not gonna try a lot of y'all. So yeah, until we see y'all again, have a good one.